change of environment. How do you feel?
I'm feeling pretty good. This is the first time that we've been together in the same place doing a podcast. Let's make some magic.
First and foremost, as usual, we always start the podcast with some TA, technical analysis, and we've have a really bullish week. So we're going to take a look at the Bitcoin chart. This is the weekly chart, by the way. And for the last, all the way since June of 2022, we've been trading within this range. And we've been struggling to break out of this range. And as you can see, we broke through a major resistance. So I've been looking at this and telling people once we break over that 31 and a half, so 31,500 resistance level, that this could potentially lead to a new support. The demand was there. Now that we have price appreciation above this major level, the sentiment has changed. Like, you're on crypto Twitter, obviously. Like, if you're big in crypto, you have to be on crypto Twitter to stay up to date, because this is such a rapid evolving space. You need to be front running the opportunity, and crypto Twitter is definitely somewhere where you can get alpha. And
following Define Labs.
Yeah, and the whole sentiment has changed. Like, everyone on crypto Twitter is super bullish, and sentiment alone could be a driving factor. So, I'm pretty excited. We're sitting at 34,351. I wouldn't be surprised if you get a little bit of a pullback at this support zone around 30K, but I think I wouldn't say up only. I think it's not going to be as easy as everyone thinks. I think we're going to have major pullbacks on the way up, but as long as you stick to your plan and your process, that's enough to just play the bull market right, because it's all about just positioning yourself and sticking to your plan. People come in and they'll buy a coin and it'll shoot up 100% within like 2 weeks, and then they end up selling too early. And 100% in crypto is not that significant. So just stick to your plan. I'm pretty excited about this chart.
When I look at that chart, I look at that breakdown right around the time that we started this podcast. We were podcasting at the 15K level, and we were telling people at the 15K level, start dollar cost averaging. This is the time that you want to be making your investing into this space, and you don't want to put all your money in it one time, because that's never the smart way, at least that I play it. But making your $20 purchase a week, $50 purchase a week, whatever it is that you can afford, but doing it on a consistent basis, because it's not about timing the market. We talk about you don't want to time the market, it's time in the market. And if you were dollar cost averaging from 15K all the way to this point, you are at a pretty significant profit at this point.
Even if you're buying at the top, 69,000, and that was in November 2021 was the absolute top. I mean, as long as you're dollar cost averaging on the way down and you did a little bit of dip buying around 15, 16K, like, you have to be up at this point.
George from Cryptos R Us did a podcast, I want to say early last week or middle of last week, and he charted from the top 69. If you were dollar cost averaging from that point until he did that podcast every single day, you were actually in the profit.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Ethereum sitting at 1796 or 97.
People still buy that coin?
Yeah, absolutely. Ethereum's right under 1,800. This is my biggest position. I don't really hold much. I do have Bitcoin, but not as significant as my Ethereum position.
Tragic. Very tragic.
Yeah, but I mean, it's underperforming compared to Bitcoin, but that's what happens in the start of a bull market. Bitcoin dominance increases. What happens is people flock to the flight to quality. We start to transition into ETH and alt season. So altcoin season's around the corner, which are just coins with smaller market caps that could, potentially generate huge returns as long as you play it right. But yeah, we're coming up to a major resistance around 2K on ETH, but I'm looking pretty bullish.
I think, I'm the Bitcoin maxi, so saying this, take it with a grain of salt. But I think now would be a good time to start looking at top 20 coins, top 25 coins to start investing in. And there'll be a point in time where we'll be, or at least you'll be, because you're the guy. I'm the Bitcoin maxi, but if I were to be doing such things, I would be looking at top 100 coins probably right around the halving.
Yeah.
Because that's where you're going to that's where you're going to find those, not particularly, because I hate to use this as an example because it's a meme coin, but that's where you're going to find your Doge and your Shiba Inus. Those just happen to be the ones that somebody watching this podcast can probably relate to and know that jumped, infinite percentages last bull run. But there's a coin right now out there that neither one of us are aware of that will probably make its presence known at some point between now and the halving.
Yeah. And
those are going to be opportunities for people that want to shitcoin, to make some serious money.
That's why keep some dry powder on the side, because a lot of the best performing assets aren't even released yet. There's not even tokens you can buy, and those normally, come out during the middle of the bull run. So the bull run's hard to play. People think it's going to be easy this time. I think it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I think that this will be my fourth bull run. So each one gets harder and harder because the numbers get bigger and bigger. So when you're talking about like going from a $2 Bitcoin to a $30 Bitcoin, like it's a lot different than we're talking about $15,000 Bitcoin going up to $100,000 Bitcoin, because not only is the Bitcoin number bigger, but so is the ETH number, so is the Solana number, so is the, whatever coin X that we're talking about. Like the numbers get bigger, the portfolio rises and falls are bigger. So, emotion is what drives markets. Like more than anything, like when you're investing, if you don't understand that, like stay at home, take your ball and go home. You're not going to do well investing. You have to understand that you're going to see things occur that make absolutely no sense from a fundamental perspective. You're going to see projects or coins, and you can even use this in stocks. You can talk about stocks. Like certain stocks they'll perform either to the upside or the downside, and you just be like, why is that happening? It makes absolutely no sense from a fundamental technical perspective. But then you have to think about, well, look at the emotions that are involved in this trade, and it's the emotions that will drive the price more than the technicals. And understanding that will be your guide when you watch Bitcoin have a $20,000 God candle. And then when Bitcoin has a $20,000 God candle, that might only be a 15 or 20% move in Bitcoin. But all the altcoins coming up behind that God candle might have like a 20x God candle or a 30x God candle. And you're just like, oh my goodness. And then and your emotions playing off others' emotions, and it's wild. It's if you've never experienced it, it's hard to explain to people. And like, you think you're going to think that people like us or others that have been in this for a while are just getting lucky when we're telling you that, oh, my portfolio just did a $50,000 move in 2 days. But, if you were following along, like we said, a year ago when we started this podcast and the market was sub 1 trillion total market cap, Bitcoin was trading at 15, and I want to say Cardano was like 10 cents, XRP was like 8 cents. Like some of these coins that are top 10, top 15, top 20 coins were like in the toilet. And here we are. We can debate if we're in a bear market still or at the beginnings of a bull market. Like that's all up for debate. But what's not debatable is the moves that this stuff has already made at the point in time when we started this podcast until now. So again, we want to be a place for you to go to get this information on how to play these markets. And again, like I'm not an expert on what's going to make a move today or tomorrow. But I consider myself to be as close to an expert as you can on Bitcoin market cycles because I've been in 4 of them. So I can tell you from experience how it feels when your coin goes up exponentially and then drops 50% in one day like it did last cycle with Bitcoin. Like I woke up one day and Bitcoin was worth $60,000 when I went to bed, and I woke up to a $31,000 Bitcoin. And I watched my portfolio overall, because I had other coins at the time too, basically take like a 65% haircut overnight. And you're talking 6 figures. And you're just like, oh. You know what I'm saying? And then people are messaging me saying, are you selling? You're getting out. And I said no, and I didn't sell nothing. And as a result of that, we watched it go from 31 to 69. And I kept adding to those positions. And, like I've said to you before, like I have more Bitcoin today than I had at 69K. So in my mind, I have more Bitcoin now than I had when it was worth, because I'm not so tied up in that USD price. I want more Satoshis. I want to have as many Satoshis as I possibly can. And that's been my mindset since 2018 when I sold my last amount into fiat. And, probably went on a long rant, but, I get my zones.
Now we like it. Yeah, markets could definitely be irrational, Just a community could drive a price, and the coin could have no fundamentals. But that's when you need to know the difference between quality ultrasound assets and just a narrative play, a hype play where you would take profits and then move the profits into, high quality
tokenomics. Tokenomics is huge. People if you're getting in this space, if there's one thing I could tell somebody to learn about before you deploy any capital into anything outside of Bitcoin or Ethereum, like if you're going to buy Bitcoin or Ethereum, you're doing okay. I give you a lot of shit about Ethereum, but like it's second best. Like we joke about it. it's my second biggest position as well, although Bitcoin far outweighs that position. I still have some Ethereum, you know what I'm saying? But if you're going to invest in these other coins that are going to give you the opportunity to have life-changing money, and let's just be honest, like most people don't have $34,000 to just put down in Bitcoin, and if Bitcoin were to do what we think it's going to do, that's still not going to be life-changing money for one Bitcoin. If you're going to put 34,000 and Bitcoin tops out at 250, let's say it does, right? Now, for some people, that is life-changing money. Like it's a significant portion of money, but you're not retiring on that. You know what I'm saying? So if you buy that coin, yeah, you're doing it right. That's the safe play. But there are going to be coins there where you might be able to take $2,000 or $3,000 and turn that into like 120,000. Like it's there. It's there. Those are opportunities that are there. But if you're putting in the wrong coins, it's never going to happen. You can't put your dollar bill into a coin that's worth 0.00001 parts of a penny and have this thought process that's going, what if it goes to $1? Mm-hmm. Because the tokenomics will tell you it's not possible. And to use the example, Shiba Inu is an easy one to use an example for, because I had arguments with people that literally know nothing about this market that would tell me, well, what if Shiba Inu goes to $1? And it's like, you have to explain to them, like, it's not possible. It would have to suck every dollar from the entire global market into just that coin. Like, I'm talking real estate, I'm talking antiques, I'm talking, everything. Everything, stocks, everything. Like multi-hundreds of trillions of dollars would be, because that's how many Shiba Inu coins are in existence. It's like an infinite amount, right? So if that were to go to $1, that means the market cap needs to be hundreds of trillions of dollars. The global stock market cap is something like 100 trillion right now. So you would outweigh just the stock market one with that one coin. So you have to know what the market supply is and then multiply that by where you want it to be to know if that's even a possibility, right?
Yeah. And that's where you have to know like the difference between inflationary assets and deflationary. Like Bitcoin, like what's the inflation on Bitcoin right now? It's like 1 point. It's like
no, it's
like
it's
a little under 2%.
I think it's 2, and then it'll cut. When it cuts at the halving. We might be like sub 1.
Yeah.
It's like I think it goes like 0.08 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ethereum by default is a deflationary asset.
Think about that. 1 million coins every single day are minted in Dogecoin.
Yeah.
So what's the possibility? Like we got close to $1 last cycle. It got to like 67 cents, I think was the high, 68 cents or something like that.
Yeah, right, with Elon Musk.
Yeah, so $1 is totally potentially possible, but think about like 2021 was when that peak was, and we've passed 2 years.
Yeah.
So think of all the days, and 1 million coins have been added since then.
Yeah.
So the more days that pass, the harder it's going to be for $1 to be reached, let alone $5, $10. Like people think like they're going to make all this money, and it's like the money to be made in that coin, the real money to be made in that coin has passed.
Yeah.
You're going to have to find another Dogecoin or another Shiba Inu if you shitcoin, if that's what you do. And again, I'm not promoting it. We're talking about crypto here. So this is part of the conversation. And you want to make sure if people are going to make these decisions that even if you don't agree with the decision that they're making, which is where I veer off from maxis, because maxis are just going to tell you're an idiot and it's like Bitcoin only and everything else is stupid. And it's like I live in the real world where like you have to accumulate fiat in order to buy more Bitcoin because they don't just give it to you based on good looks. So because of that, like I'm going to look at some of these other opportunities that I can use to get more Bitcoin. And if you're going to do that, you need to understand what you're getting yourself into. And if you don't look at tokenomics, keep your money at home. Go buy Apple stock, go buy GameStop or one of these other jerk off coins or stocks, and good luck.
Yeah, well, they say, I know a lot of especially newer investors, they'll look at the previous all-time high from the previous cycle. So it's 2021, you're looking at a coin and it's trading at $1,200 and the coin's at $50 right now. So they try to correlate, okay, well, if this stock goes back to its all-time high, I'm going to make X percent, but they're not taking into account the tokenomics, how many coins have been printed, how many tokens are in existence, the circulating supply and stuff like that. So they say 95% of tokens never reach their all-time high in the next cycle. So keep that in mind.
So already thinking to say that, and you said it. Yeah, that's a big number. Like again, that's why I started this whole conversation out by saying you're going to want to look at the top 20 coins around the halving, because those are the coins that have the best opportunity to reach their all-time high again. Cardano reached, I think, $2 last cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't reach $2?
Something like that. Yeah.
And what's Cardano at right now?
30 cents.
30 cents. So like just to get back to that all-time high, and that's a top 10 coin.
Yeah.
So that has, statistically speaking, one of the better opportunities to get back to their all-time high. So if you want to take and this is where you have to make smart investing decisions. So if I'm going to shitcoin, right, I'm going to look at something like that where it's like, okay, here we are at 30 cents. And for it to get back to $2, that's like a what, 7 or 8x? Mm-hmm. So if I put money into that right now and it just gets back to the all-time high, 7 or 8x my money. That's a safe play. And that's a pretty damn good return. You're talking 700, 800%. You're looking for 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 in the stock market. If you can make that in a year, that's pretty damn good, right? But then when you start to go farther and farther down the line, some of these other coins may never get back to their all-time high, right?
Yeah.
So you have to look at that. That's why I say, like, you're going to want to take a look at those top coins first because those have the best opportunity to get back to where they were at last cycle. And then some of those are going to go past that. They're going to reach past that.
Solana.
You know, that legitimate. Like I told you, I was dead wrong on that. I thought that was dead in the water.
Really?
Only because we talked about it because it was caught up in FTX, and I thought it was a sinking ship. I thought FTX had too many tokens, and when they went bankrupt, that so many of them were going to tie up in that bankruptcy that it was just a dead ship. And you bought it, and I was a good friend, and I was like, yay! And I was like, oh man, why do you do that? But I didn't want to make you feel bad, so I didn't. I honestly, truly thought that there was no shot.
You made
a smart. Yeah. And again, this is why Troy's here because Troy brings the alpha. He understands this stuff, and when it comes to the other coins, he's gonna give you the information that nobody else is under. Like he saw it, I didn't see it. I don't study it. I would be some random that's watching this podcast that doesn't know. I'm the perfect example because I don't look at it like you look at it. You do, so you knew it was a good move. I'm thinking I'm one of these assholes that are writing comments on our videos that don't know nothing, and I'm just like, oh, what an idiot this guy is. And then here he is. What are you, 4x so far?
Yeah, I picked it up at like $9.80. $9.
And where's it at now?
35. But I did buy it at like 60, 70. But I've been dollar cost averaging on the way down. But I got a nice chunk. That's one of my bigger bets. It's like a little over 5%, under 10% of my crypto portfolio. So that's one of my big bets. I think that can break all-time highs. Honestly, they're gaming the things that are built on it, the developers, the community. I know there's a conference coming up, and it's the first conference since the FTX, and depending on the social sentiment there, I mean, I think I might continue to add even at 35. If this break, the all-time high is 260, and I believe in it, and that's what it's about is conviction, patience, like seeing the value in something. Because if you don't see the value in something, how are you going to invest in dollar cost average into something? I'm not going to be dollar cost averaging into Pepe or a meme coin, right? Because I don't have the conviction, and not only that, I just don't believe in it. It's mostly a narrative, a hype play. But something like Solana, I know an analyst just put out, what was it, a price target of $3,000 a coin? They said by 2030, they always say this, and take it with a grain of salt. But a $3,000 price target for Solana by 2030, that's a little aggressive. But I mean, even if we get over 500, that's a pretty good investment. So
want me tell you a secret that Bitcoin maxis will eviscerate me over?
What?
Chainlink.
Yeah, I love Chainlink.
I think if you're looking to make a play at a coin that's going to develop a lot of shit on it, like I keep reading about it only because Chainlink probably is my third after Ethereum. It's my third biggest holding, and honestly, like Bitcoin's like 97% of my portfolio, and I have like 3% of other stuff. You know what I mean? So it's not like it's a huge position, but I mean, all-time high last cycle was 57, maybe 58, maybe close to 60, right? And this thing bottomed at like $5. Like it was down in the dumps. Like when everything else was dead, Chainlink was performing. This is more than just a token. And honestly, like I don't even think of it like a shit coin, even though it kind of is considered a shit coin to all my Bitcoin maxi friends. They would say that. I look at it like investing like Apple or like investing in like some stock, because the stuff that they're doing is not just like, oh, we're trying to promote this token that we're going to try to make a lot of people money on. I think they're really doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes that are going to translate into next level stuff for the internet, which is what a lot of tokens, a lot of shitcoins try to say they're going to do, but they only do that to shore up funding, and then they rug. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
a lot of these tokens try to be like, oh, we're going to be the Internet of Things, or we're going to be like, we're going to be the. And again, I've never in a day of my life owned XRP, so I'm just going to shit on it because I never owned it. And it's just like they've tried to say that they're going to be like the Swift banking system behind the scenes, and banks are going to use Swift, and then they created FedNow. So like, what do they need? What do they need XRP for now? Like, what is XRP doing? What's it gonna do outside of be a speculative asset for people to make money on? Right. The only way that I think that thing moves is if the XRP army buys more tokens. So I don't want to have a token that I have to rely on other people buying for the price to appreciate. I want something that's got fundamental technology behind it. And I think, and again, 99.9% of these coins are shit coins to me. I think they're all shit. If you can make money in them, do it. And again, I'm not telling you not to. If you can make more money to make your life and your family's life better, or you can get more Satoshis at the end of the day, which is what I would use them for, do it. But to think that you're buying something that's going to do something in society, you're fooling yourself. But I think Chainlink is the exception to that. Because I keep because again, like I said, it's my third biggest position almost by default. And I just keep reading about it. And like everything I read is like there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that they're doing, and they're implementing like this Oracle, like stuff that you understand, the technical stuff, like that I just like it kind of goes over my head a little bit. But like a lot of stuff that we use, like it's almost like the way it's being explained is like, and this is the stuff that really turns me on when they talk about it. Like when you will be transacting and not knowing you're using that, that's when something's good. Like when you're just transacting in your everyday life or doing things, and then that's going on behind the scenes and you don't even know, that's huge. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the tokens. And here I am, I'm going to get sued if this thing goes bankrupt because I'm out here telling you. I'm not saying to buy it. I'm just saying that that's one of the few tokens that I've done my research on that I feel comfortable holding in my portfolio. I think it's like 2% of my portfolio, maybe, or 1% of my portfolio.
I got 5% in that. I think real world assets are going to be a huge narrative going into the 2020. Some would argue we're already in the beginning of a bull market, but I think 2024, 2025, we'll see the rocketing of the ecosystem. I think Chainlink and Solana will be some of those coins. So Chainlink's at $11 was consolidating between at $9, $8 for the last several months, maybe even a year.
5 to 7, bro.
Yeah,
it was at like $5 to $7. It would get to 7 and sell off.
Yeah,
like it just wasn't. It wasn't moving.
Yeah.
It wasn't moving.
Yeah. So real world assets, I think that's going to be a huge.
It's up
narrative.
44% in 1 month.
Yeah,
it's up more. I think it's up more than. I might be up more than Bitcoin. What do we make that move from 26 to 30 to 34? Mm-hmm. It's close. It's a close move.
This last push we've had, once Bitcoin broke over 30K, you've seen a lot of these altcoins thrive, right? So what I like to do is look at the top performers, because typically the top nothing.
This is nothing.
But typically, the beginning of a bull market, whatever are the top performers, while Bitcoin dominance is increasing, typically you want to keep an eye on those altcoins. For example, Solana, Chainlink. What else do we have? We got real world assets, AI like Render, coins like that. These are things that I think are going to have potential. If they're up 40, 50% in the month, and there's coins that are up 10, 15% in the month, the chances of those 10 and 15 percenters outperforming the ones that are already up 40% this month are probably unlikely. I'm not saying it can't happen, but that gives you an indicator of like what to keep an eye on, what's trending now, because the smart money is flowing into these assets. So
I would agree.
Yeah,
I would agree. I think you want to be number one. You want to have a plan. Like that's number one. Like whatever you're doing in this space, you want to have a plan. So if you're coming in for the first time, this is your first podcast watching, which that would be amazing if it was. You wanna understand what it is you're getting yourself into, and I would suggest, again, it's quite technical, but there's places you can find it. I mean, I read it for the first time in 2015. It took me a year and a half to get my hands on it, and then to find a version that was like in layman's terms. But I would suggest reading the Bitcoin white paper.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to be in this space, and even if you're in it to shitcoin, like there's a lot of potential here that people don't stick around long enough to see. And for me, and I'm not a technical dude, like I'm a jock, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm a gym rat that, I don't, all this technical stuff. It's amazing that I found myself in this space, and stuck it out. But when you read the white paper and you look at it from inception on why it was created, and again, I came for the money and I'm staying for the revolution. We talked about that, right? I came here to try to make life-changing money, and I was able to put myself in a position to no longer live paycheck to paycheck. And the white paper really just breaks down why it was created. Like the great financial crisis was the catalyst for this whole revolution experiment. And when you understand why Bitcoin was created or why it's needed, and then you start to explore the other parts of this ecosystem, things start to make sense. Because for me, I invested in stocks. I was investing in stocks for a while, and I as of 2020, when the pandemic hit, and I bought casino stocks and I bought oil stocks because everything shut down, and I knew that people are going to gamble again and people are going to drive cars again. It was like a layup, easy money, right? But since that moment, I sold those, and I haven't bought individual stocks again, because it's just like it's just not, because I know from Bitcoin like what that system is, and it's just like, yes, you can make money in those parts of it, but like this just represents something different. Like we're opting out of that. So like owning that individually, like I'm not into it. Like I like to make money, but like the things that I was owning was just like, with Bitcoin and with this ecosystem here, like we're on the cusp. Like I really believe this. Like this isn't just like lip service. Like I really believe, like the video that you sent me today, that maybe we can tag it in this at some point, because I think everybody should watch it. Like, and I've said this to you, like I'm not accumulating Bitcoin for me. Like I made my little bit of money, and it wasn't completely life changing, but it was enough at that point. But the Bitcoin that I'm accumulating now is for my kids, for my kids' kids. It's for the generation of Renalis that will not have to be tied to this corrupt, broken system that I think will fail in my lifetime. But even if it doesn't, it'll fail in my kids' lifetime. And they're going to have this vehicle or this vessel that will be available to them that, their dad or their granddad, saved his wealth in, to give them a shot. Because I think, just investing in stocks and just holding USD and just being in that broken system that we've saw just crater, and just the crevices and the ugliness of the last 2 or 3 years, that people that don't even understand necessarily can feel it, because when they go to the grocery store, they see it. When they go to the bank, they see it. When they're making big life decisions and there's money behind that, they notice it, but they just can't put their finger on it. And that's what this all represents. And that's why I'm here. That's why this podcast was created with you, so we can give people the opportunity to see that there's something better.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you say that, and I really dislike when people like correlate stocks and crypto. Like Bitcoin's a currency, it's not a stock, right? And my father actually called me. He was like, you're a little over invested. He's worried about me. He's like, because he doesn't understand the technology, he doesn't see the value in it. But I'm sure he's seen something on the news today talking about Bitcoin. And he was like, what's the price of Bitcoin? I'm like, well, for one, he said 28,000. He doesn't keep up to it. And I was like, no, it's 35,000. He's like, well, what's the all-time high? I was like, 69,000. He was like, okay, so you'll make just under 100% for its all-time high. He's like, why don't you just buy a pharmaceutical company that cures cancer and buy thousands of shares at a coin in less than a penny, or no, less than $1, and then it goes up to $15 and you made 1,500%. And I was trying to explain to him, and he thinks crypto is risky, but that's risky. Buying a how many pharmaceutical companies I know that went bankrupt or went to zero of like a penny stock?
First of all, 98% of penny stocks, which are considered under $1, they go to zero. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So you have to be insanely lucky to find the one that cures cancer.
Yeah.
Which they haven't been able to do yet, number one. And I know he's just saying that, but like you have to be so lucky and so well versed in research to find that penny stock that's going to turn into something that's going to be worth make life-changing money for you. You're honestly better off buying Netflix that's down like 50% right now, or buying one of these other blue chip stocks that's taking a hit to make your money back. And I want to go back to this other thought too that I had, and when we were talking about this earlier, I thought about this because this was one of the initial like forays into Bitcoin for me, was Berkshire Hathaway stock. That was what was in my mind when I was initially investing in Bitcoin. And I've talked about this on the podcast many times of the first coin I ever got, I earned through like these websites that were like paying me to do certain tasks. And Bitcoin being such a low number, I was able to accumulate my first coin for free. And when I was thinking about this and again, this is at like a $200 or $300 Bitcoin price that I was getting this at. And I'm thinking to myself, like at the time, Berkshire Hathaway A stock was like a $100,000 stock. And I was thinking, man, imagine like in 1980 being able to earn Berkshire Hathaway stock that was only maybe worth a couple $100 at the time for free and not taking advantage of that opportunity. Because again, I read the white paper and like the light bulb went off. So I'm like, holy shit, there's this opportunity that's there. Not only do I not have to use actual capital, I could get this stuff and earn it on top of buying it. Why am I not doing this? So in my mind, I'm thinking of if Berkshire Hathaway stock could be 100,000 and this new technology, why can't this be 100,000 or 500,000 or $1 million, right? So when you sent me that message today talking about like what your dad said, I looked up Berkshire Hathaway A stock. I hadn't looked at it in forever because again, I'm not in the stock game no more, so I don't even pay attention to it. And it's $500,000 a share. Berkshire Hathaway stock. What the fuck does that stock do? Excuse my language. What does that stock do? Warren Buffett just owns pieces of a bunch of different companies. But what's the intrinsic value of Berkshire Hathaway? They just make good investments. They pick companies that are worth something. A large portion of that is because of the Apple investment he made that he hit on. But like, what's the intrinsic value of that stock? Right?
People would argue that they generate revenue and...
Not from Berkshire Hathaway stock. He doesn't pay back. Your value is in owning that stock. As far as I know, you're not getting any dividends from that stock. It's not a dividend paying stock.
Okay.
So you're just owning that stock and you get invited to the brunch that he has every single year with all the other investors that own that stock. But the point of it is like when you own stock, you own pieces of a company. And you mentioned Bitcoin being a currency, and I'm going to push back on even that piece because it was originally a currency. And I think we shed that a while back. I think we shed the currency aspect of it in this last bull run. I don't think and I think that's some of the sticking points for people to even get involved is because they still view it as a currency. I'm not using my Bitcoin to buy anything. Like there's over 100,000 merchants right now that you can use your Bitcoin to buy things from. You know how many times I've done it? 0. Never bought anything with Bitcoin. And I used to get excited and it's crazy because I used to get excited when I'd see like, oh, this new merchant's accepting Bitcoin. Oh, Overstock's accepting Bitcoin. Oh, Elon, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. None of this shit matters. I'm not using my Bitcoin because it's no longer a currency. And I don't think it ever really was a currency. And that's the disconnect. And again, we don't have Satoshi around to ask, thankfully, because that makes this whole thing work, being decentralized. It's a store of value. And you've heard me talk about this before. Like if I have a Picasso painting and it's worth $20 million and I have it on my wall, I'm not looking to transact that. I'm not looking to see what I can buy with my Picasso painting. It's storing my value in that. And there's a reason why Masterworks is such a big deal right now. And people are like buying into that to own these pieces of art that they would never be able to own because art is a great way to store your value. It looks like a kindergartner drew half this shit. It looks disgusting. Like most of these paintings are ridiculous. I wouldn't pay $3 for them, but they have value because of who made it and the market that exists, and people are buying it because it stores value. Because you can buy a paint, like Jay-Z's got a painting that he bought for like 2 or 3 million that's worth like 40 or 50 million now.
Yeah.
It's a way to store your value. So that's what Bitcoin is. We're storing value. So it doesn't matter what price you come in at. It doesn't matter if you came in at 69, it doesn't matter if you came in at 15. You're storing value. You know where you don't store value? In every other market. Because that $500,000 Berkshire Hathaway stock is worth $500,000 USD. But what's the value that when we look at inflation, what that value would be 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, right? Now that's a big number, so it's a little bit unfair maybe to use that as an example, but we can use Amazon, we can use Apple, like we can talk about like those price appreciations of those assets. But then when you incorporate where inflation's at, what are you really making? Like where's the value? Houses is a great example. Like houses are perfect. We only got to go back 2 or 3 years for that. We don't got to go back 30 years. You can look at $100,000 house in 2020 and see that same house sell for 300 now. Why is that? And the crazy part is that person that wants to sell that for the 300,000, there's no market for it now. Because if I'm sitting on a 3, 4, or 5% mortgage on my house that maybe I don't like as much, I have to sell that to buy yours at an 8% clip if I have good credit. So you're seeing that market dry up that people aren't completely accepting as reality yet. But like it's all, and the only reason why that is, and to get back to the central point, is because you're dealing in a corrupt market. You're dealing in a failing, devaluing currency, United States dollar. It is a failing currency. It's not if, it's when. We just don't know when, but we know it's going to fail because every other paper currency in mankind has failed. So Bitcoin's not a currency and Bitcoin's not going to fail because Bitcoin had many opportunities to fail and it hasn't. And when the markets go to shit, what does Bitcoin do?
It skyrockets.
When markets are doing okay, what is Bitcoin doing?
Skyrocket.
So it's not that you're looking to 2, 3x, 4x, 5x with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the Picasso painting, right? I would argue Ethereum, Solana, and all these other places, that's where you're trying to like make your money. Bitcoin's the savings account. And again, it's hard because people are thinking in such short, like small time frames, like they're this like master trader, like they're Paul Tudor Jones or they're Ray Dalio. Like you're not. Like stop pretending that you are. Like you don't know what you're doing. You stop looking at Bitcoin being 69,000 and then being 15,000 and thinking you're gonna play that trade. You're not. If you bought Bitcoin at any point in time in the last 14 years and held it for 4 years, you never lost. Now, there's times you could say you bought it and 6 months later you sold it and you lost because you're not a short-term trader. You played it wrong. Time in the market, not timing the market. So stop pretending that you're one of these like looking at when you're looking at the price, you're talking to me like you're a trader. You're not. 2% of traders make money. I'm flooded on my Facebook page and my Twitter page of all these master traders that make money day trading. It's not real. It's not happening. Your life ain't as good on Facebook as you say it is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like you have to understand what it is that you're doing and what Bitcoin represents. So when you said currency, like yeah, I think we got to like move away from that.
What I like what you talk about is it being a store of energy. How do you feel about that?
I don't know if we have enough time to get into that. I like that you went there.
How much time do we have? Do you want to talk about the environmental impacts, or would you rather talk about Bitcoin being a store of value? We don't even have to talk about the tweets. Like, I think what we got going on right now is pretty valuable. What do you think would be more beneficial? Because I can bring up the question about
the energy piece is important. We need to talk about that real quick because if we go back 5 years, we have audio visual proof of Larry Fink from BlackRock talking about how dangerous and how harmful to the environment Bitcoin is. Then you have Larry Fink in 2020 leading the charge of ESG, which started the narrative of Bitcoin mining being this like awful thing that was destroying the planet. And it's like the sole reason why we have climate change problems, right? I say all that to fast forward to now where, you know, we covered this a podcast or two ago where Larry Fink is calling Bitcoin a flight to safety and then completely downplaying the ESG ramifications. We could talk about ESG and climate, and that's a whole nother, that would probably get, you know, people upset and riled up. And I don't want to really displace our viewership because I have my own feelings on that, but it's completely irrelevant to the facts of what Bitcoin is. So we can start with facts. That's where we'll start. So 52%, between 52 and 56% of Bitcoin mining today is green. It's done with renewable energy. Okay. Then you have mining facilities that aren't using the green aspect of it, that are using, now, if you don't know this, like the power authority that's over here, like these big power plants, there's somewhere between, I might be messed up on the numbers a little bit, but I know it's pretty close. Somewhere between 5 to 7% of the energy that's in a normal one of these plants gets wasted and emitted into the atmosphere, which is a problem. That's problematic for all the climate change people, right? So what people don't realize is you have the 52 to 56 that's green. Then you have Okay, you got another 44 to 48% that's not. Some of those places are finding spots next to power places, power authorities, power plants that are emitting that into the atmosphere and diverting that into mining power. So if those Bitcoin mining facilities didn't exist in those locations, that would be emitted into the atmosphere, and now it's not. It's going into that. So when you're talking about the amount of Bitcoin that's actually bad for the environment, it's such a smaller number. Okay? Another fact. Of all the energy that's being used in the entire planet right now, Bitcoin is somewhere between 0.01 and 0.05% of all of that. You know what far outweighs Bitcoin's output of carbon emissions? TradFi. All the banks that you go to that rape you in fees. All the banks that you go to that don't give you the amount of interest that you should be getting, because the interest rates right now are almost 6%, and these banks are giving you 0.01. But they got employees to pay, they got lights to keep on, and all that stuff is electricity. So the amount of damage to the atmosphere that's done by Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, Bank X, just insert a bank in there, and how big the banking industry is, like, it's not even close. And we're talking about Bitcoin. So then you have to ask, well, why? Why are we talking about that? Why is that even a narrative, right? And it goes right back to what we talked about before. Like, this is a alternative to a system that's broken, a system that's cratering. And the fact of the matter is 95% of the population doesn't realize it. It's the Bitcoiners like us, or even maybe people that aren't necessarily Bitcoiners yet, but maybe libertarians that understand it, that are fighting against these narratives.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, it did. I did hear something about the banks using a lot of their carbon footprint.
Carbon footprint's enormous.
Yeah.
It's enormous.
Yeah.
Like, think about how many banks are out there, and just think about, like, these big like, think about the Prudential building in Boston. There's all these buildings that maybe it's not even a bank, but they're like sponsored, but the bank name is on it. And it's like the amount of energy that in carbon emissions and carbon footprints from all that. It's like, we don't talk about that. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a whole sector of banking that's online now. And if you want to get the best rates on your money, it's online banking, right? Mm-hmm. So why don't we talk about shifting that all to online? Like, what do we need to go into a bank branch for? Like, what do we really, they're already pushing everything digital. Like, what's the point of going into a branch? Mm-hmm. Why am I paying for that?
Yeah.
Right? You can't give me a good fee, or you can't give me the best rate, because I got to pay for Sally that's at the counter. Mm-hmm. Or I got to pay for the lights to stand in this old ass building that should have been torn down 70 years ago, but you're using it as a bank. Like, those are conversations that we can have, but we get diverted to the Bitcoin's bad for the environment without all the facts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. Bitcoin Maxi here, Don Rinaldi. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's really it. I think we got into some good topics of discussion today. We do encourage people to give us a like, follow, and subscribe. Comment. I love the trolls, don't you?
I do. And a majority of the responses are me responding to the trolls. Yeah. And you know what? It's and we say that in jest, but, like, honestly, like, you can tell sometimes when somebody's commenting on something that they don't really know, because if they did, they wouldn't be making the comments that they're making. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, it's an opportunity for us to further our mission, which is to educate people. And you're the vessel for that. Like, you're making a comment thinking that you're trolling, but you're just giving us another opportunity to, like, further hammer down a point that we're making. And you don't have to agree with it, and you can just walk away thinking that we're crazy, but, like, it gives us that extra added opportunity to try to bring people more information and bring them into a direction that we think will be beneficial.
Yeah. You handle them well too. Like, you
know, there's no value in arguing with someone. Like, you can't. I heard a long time. It's funny, and I don't mean this derogatory to anybody that's watching this that I've engaged in comments with, but you can't fix stupid. Like, and I don't mean stupid like you're just a dummy. Like, it's like ignorance. Like, if you're ignorant to something, like, the only way to fix that is for that person to take the time to learn about something. And I'm not going to change that in one comment. I'm not going to change that in one back and forth conversation. I might elicit a light bulb for that person to, like, do that. But, like, for me to think that, like, you think the sky is blue and I think the sky is red, then I'm going to make you see it red in one, like, comment. I just know better than that.
Yeah.
So like I'm gonna acknowledge your comment. I'm gonna give you information in a nice way, and then just move on.
Yeah. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Awesome. All right. Yeah, we'll wrap this up here, and this is our first in-person podcast, so we'll keep them coming depending on how you guys like it. We want some feedback, negative, positive feedback. All that stuff helps us.
Yeah, if you're watching this, like the best way to support us, like, is just to comment what you thought, or to just hit the like button, or if you're watching this for the first time and you want more of this, hit the subscribe button. Like none of that stuff costs money. It supports us. It helps us keep going and gets our message out and hits the algorithm out there, which is hard to crack, man.
Yeah, we'll put all our socials in the show notes below, and check us out. We're on all platforms: LinkedIn, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, so YouTube.
Yeah.
So awesome. Yeah. Alrighty.
Don't trust, verify.
Don't trust, verify.